All right, peace, everybody. Peace. Thank you for coming out. All right, today we're going to talk about Rex 84 in particular, but we're going to go through other protocol programs that have been inspired by Rex 84 that are in effect right now as we speak. All right, just so you know, real quick, Rex 84 is short for Readiness Exercise 1984. Readiness Exercise 1984. For those that don't know. And please write this down.
1984?
Readiness. Readiness. What else is, anybody know the number 1984? What's synonymous with surveillance of civilians in the year 1984? Anybody know? Yes, sir.
COINTELPRO.
No, sir. A book. Oh, George Orwell, 1984. Write that book down. George Orwell, O-R-W-E-L-L. And the book is titled 1984.
O-R-W?
O-R-W-E-L.
The kids read it in school.
Yeah, it's mandatory reading in high school. I mean, it's been mandatory reading. So I got high school in 84.
O-R-E-L?
George Orwell. He's a science fiction writer, but this particular book gave birth to the concept of Big Brother, like Big Brother's watching. And in his book, he predicted, in his storyline, he predicted that by the year 1984, that the total population of America would be under constant observation via video camera. At that time, we didn't even have that kind of, video capability known to the public. But he was talking about the book. He talked about wiretapping that has already been going on. COINTELPRO, he included that. He talked about person-to-person observation. Sort of like, if we go back in history, the first Big Brother program really was with Hitler, the Brown Shirt program. The Brown Shirt program is where Hitler employed the youth, and all the youth would go out and observe things, come back and tell the SS. You see, that was the first program effectively put into place where people were monitored. So if you could be a parent, if you said something against Hitler, the youth would go back and tell the local SS that my father and mother are against you, and they would come arrest them. Now the Hitler program, we're talking about 42, the 40s, but Orwell's book, I read it in 1980.
Say the book again?
1984, George Orwell. Now this plan, Rex 84, is leaning on that. And with this paper I have here, this paper is written by Alan L. Rowland, and it's pretty much just a essay/summarization of it, and I'll be sending it out in email. It says, we are dangerously close to a situation where if the American people took to the streets in righteous indignation, or if there were another 9/11, a mechanism for martial law could be quickly implemented and carried out under Rex 84. The Cheney/Bush, and he didn't put Condoleezza Rice, but I'm going to put that, plus Obama. The Cheney/Bush/Obama/Rice/Clinton administration, because it's all one thing. Yeah, power too. We got to include all these people. So you say Cheney-Bush, they'll have you thinking that it's just one administration, so we're in a good one now. This one is just a continuation of that one. Has a plan which would accommodate the detention of large number of Americans, citizens, during times of emergency. Okay, let's look at the word emergency. In federal language, emergency means any situation that the U.S. government cannot control. That's an emergency. So they have labels like rioting, looting, the famous one, disorderly conduct. That's a one-on-one terminology. But in large numbers, you'll hear rioting, looting. They will never use words like rebellion, because rebellion symbolizes something to rebel against. So they would never use that. Now, the plan is called Rex 84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984. Through Rex 84, an undisclosed number of concentration camps were set in operation throughout the United States for internment of dissidents. Dissidents is related to the word insurgent, is related to the word activist, is related to the word revolutionary. It's related to the word dissident, D-I-S-S-I-D-E-N-T. D-E-N-T-S.
So they were revolutionary activists.
Yeah. This is
And that's according to who?
the government. I'm teaching you at the same time I'm going through this, I'm giving you what they call code words. Like trick words. You say this word, they know what they're talking about.
Wow.
So when we see the word dissident, the first thing you'll think terminology of dissident is someone who is a problem, a threat, right? But not necessarily in the eyes of the government, but it could be somebody like me, you, anybody here. You know, you get up in your neighborhood, something going wrong, you speak against it, you're a dissident. If we were in a so-called third world country or in the so-called Middle East, I would be called an insurgent. These are trick words. And others potentially
Teaching us
harmfully
you're
to
a surgeon?
yes, potentially harmful to the state. Now, anyone potentially harmful to the state is a dissident or an insurgent or an agitator. So what would be a person who is potentially harmful to the state? Somebody give me an example.
Like Malcolm X would be harmful to the state.
Yes, anybody else? Give me another example of people. What is a harmful person to the state and what situation would deem you harmful to the state?
Going up against the injustices.
In what ways? And not grand ways either. I want you to think practical right now. Rex 80?
Boycott,
Okay, boycotts. Anything else?
Like
protest.
Protests. Anything else?
Activists.
Okay, activism. Anything else? I want you to be more practical than those.
WBAI radio
Yeah.
station.
Communication. Even more practical. And you're all right too. I'm just trying to get you to get more and more practical
Us, we're upset about a certain thing in the
in the
day
system.
Class.
to day.
Okay,
We
this
talk
class,
about
we talk
the
about
government
okay.
or the this, the that, whatever.
talking about the government, your dissatisfaction with the government.
Yeah.
Even more practical. Raise your hand if you're a parent.
Wow.
Raise your hand if you're a good parent. Raise your hand if you're such a good parent that you would not allow the system to destroy your children. That you would speak out at the PTA meetings. That you would be in the building and say, I don't want to live like this. This is not a good way. You can't sell drugs in my building. You can't hang out in front of my building. You know, we're not going to allow this, and other. I want a fixed playground in the back of my building. I don't like the playground like this. So you take it to the local community board. You join the community board. You are the beginning of a dissident. That's how simple it is. You know, my lock is broken on my door, and you fuss with the administration of your building about that lock, and then you get the bright idea to fuss about all the locks in the building. Maybe you don't like the fact that the police can come in and out the building without some kind of checkpoint, no kind of paperwork. You're a dissident. You are the beginning of those other titles. You see? This
So
is
a
what
lot of
that's
white
about.
people would be dissident because
Anybody.
if something goes wrong in the community, they start to petition.
Rex
and-
84, let me be real with you, has no color.
Okay.
Don't trip. Don't believe the hype. Rex 84 is not about pro-black. It's not about pro-white. Rex 84 is about pro-government versus pro-citizen. It's a mechanism designed by the elite to continue to keep their power. You know, that's all it really is. If the masses wake up one day and decide, hey, this distribution of wealth is not rocking here, this is uneven, we got to do something. All of a sudden, you're going to start seeing on the news, they're going to put things into play. They have a program called the Garden Tool Program. I'm going to get into that next class. And these are little mechanisms that they use to create what they call like little bushfires, to have an excuse to move the next ship. You know, the 9/11s, you know, they create those things. The Rodney King uprising. Yeah, we played a role, but believe it or not, we did not create that. That was festered and allowed to go on so that other things can be put into place. All these little uprisings from King, we take credit for them because people might take the momentum. But like Kwame Ture told us, be clear, those uprisings are not a result of us. It's a reaction. But who started the flame to create the reaction? You see what I'm saying? You got to think this is a country that they see and monitor everything. So you can't tell me that they didn't know that was about to happen. They need those things to happen in order to implement the secondary law. We are a first base planning people. We're up against a people who plan 7 moves ahead.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we just thinking about tomorrow. They thinking about 7 generations like we supposed to.
The elite.
Yeah, because they understand that their power is based on corruption. And they ain't going to last forever. I mean, they clear on that. So every once in a while, when the people get fussed, they throw Bernie Madoff at you. You know, oh, see, they get their own. No, they don't. He's a pawn for the real big dude. All right? Now, it says Rex 84 program was originally established on the reasoning that if a mass exodus of illegal aliens crossed the Mexican to U.S. border, they would be quickly rounded up and detained in detention centers by FEMA. FEMA. What is FEMA, y'all? Anybody know?
Uh-huh.
A federal something.
Federal Emergency.
Management. Yeah.
Close.
Something assistance.
Okay,
What's the M for?
I'm not telling you. I'm gonna ask you. You have to know. If you don't know, then that's your homework.
Money assistance.
No. Anybody, take a guess.
I think it is management.
I'm not telling.
I know it is federal emergency.
The federal emergency is right. I'm gonna guide you, but I'm not gonna tell you.
Assistance is right. A. Is the A right?
I don't know. I'm not telling. I'm gonna play
Mobilization?
dumb myself today. I don't know.
Mobilization, no?
You know why I'm not telling you? Because these are things that you
We
should know, like
know
your
about
name.
that.
So if I tell you, and I'm on camera saying it, I'm not gonna tell. You're gonna go home. You're gonna research, or you're gonna get some notes. If you was here with Shep, I know Shep talked about this. I know for a fact that Shep talked about this. So if you were in Shep's class, you should refer to your notes and you should answer the question. If you weren't in Shep's class, you can get on your iPods, your Blackberries, your Curves, your Swerves, you know, your Google, Goggles, Gigis, whatever you got, and go find out what it means as we talk. If I feed you, you eat today. If you fish for yourself, you eat forever. All right. Now, look what they say. If a mass exodus of Mexican illegal aliens comes across the border, they would be considered illegal. They would say we have a way to round them all up. But wait a minute. Before this, all of a sudden, illegal alien crisis came into place, Rex 84 was already in place. This mass exodus thing is just a new cover-up. In actuality, Rex 84 is designed for the mass internment of Africans in America. Let's be clear about that.
Okay.
You are the people that they are most afraid of. Because why? We're in a situation of utter despair. Right now, black people across America, above any other group, are in the most disenfranchised state of all. Not these little white kids out here arguing. It's glad that they finally get disenfranchised, but they got to catch up with us. Not the Mexican. As much as he's catching hell on a job. You know, he's catching hell while he rakes leaves. We just catching hell. And we're starting to be the ones that they have no more use for. Now people say, oh, you can't say my woe is better than your woe. I'm not comparing woes. I'm just dealing with the reality situation. The prisons in America are filled with black people. Black people, there's more black people in prison right now than during slavery, the height of slavery. So those who they cannot incarcerate, they're afraid eventually will rebel. Now, we already know mass incarceration, new Jim Crow law, that's the #1 internment place. The secondary internment, let me rewind and focus on mass incarceration. I was incarcerated. When I was incarcerated, you know, we had a vision of jail being bars, you know, just a jail. In 1989, their excuses because of the crack phenomena and the amount of people going to jail behind drugs, they started to turn everything into a prison. I was locked up on the ferry. I don't know if you can remember, not these new ferries, but the old ferries. The old ferries became prisons. They're still the Bane and the King. I was locked up on the King, which was off the edge of Rikers Island, surrounded by, I think, 20 or 50 yards of barbed wire. And these are boats. And they actually cornered off the boat where the top housed about 50 to 100 cots, and the bottom housed 50 to 100 cots, and the bottom was showers. We ate on the boat. We lived on the boat. The only time we came into the mainland is when we were going to court, when you were going to a visit. That's it. Otherwise, your life is on the boat. Now, also in Brooklyn, in the Navy yards, those big barges, they were housing people on the barges. See? So it's not like they can't transform modern and everyday things into a jail. Something else that's popping up in our community that we're not paying attention to, these storage units. These storage units, I'm sorry, I've done the research, they are not in anyone else's neighborhood. All the storage units are centered around our neighborhoods. Now, everybody might use it, but it's in ours. So some people say, no, well, I saw a storage unit downtown. Yep, if you go down to FDR, there is a storage unit downtown.